everyone, my name is Sarah. In today's class we're going to take a look at the first part of our series on Microsoft Excel. In this class we're going to look at some of the basics of the program, and in the next class, which will be July 21st, which is a Tuesday at 6 p.m., you can find the link on our Facebook page for that second part of the series, and in that class we will talk about some practical applications of Microsoft Excel, as well as compare it to Google Sheets, which is another spreadsheet program. So I wanted to let you know that I do have quite a number of notes for this program. I will be referring to those. And if you're interested in receiving those, you're welcome to email me at si.sarah@4cls.org, and I'd be happy to send them off to you. That way you can have them as you practice or take a look at Microsoft Excel. I wanted to also let you know that if you have any questions, you can either call me at the library at 563-1200. If I'm not there, you can leave a message and I'll get back to you. Or you can email me again at that si.sarah@4cls.org. You can also post your question in the comments area of this posting, or you can go to our webpage and look for the Ask a Librarian section, which is at the bottom of the front page, and just click on that and go ahead and enter your question, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. I want to recommend that you practice this spreadsheet program between the first class and the second class if you have the opportunity. The library is open by appointment, and you can call and schedule a half-an-hour appointment to use the computer. I don't know if you'll want to make one or two different appointments, different days in order to practice, but that is available to you. You also may be able to use a web-based version of Microsoft Excel and practice at home if you'd like. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I wanted to first let you know that I am recording at home, so if you hear noise, I'm sorry. My cat sometimes likes to visit, and I am by a window. It is warm out, so you might hear some traffic. Sorry about that. But let's get started with this first page that you see, which is the first screen that comes up when you open the program. And you can see that you have some options here. You have a blank workbook, but you also have some templates that you can look at, which is kind of nice. It gives you an idea of some of the things that you can do with Microsoft Excel. And so I'm just going to open up one of them. You can take a look at it and see a little bit of the kind of things that you can do in this program. All right, let's go back to the file screen and open a new blank document. All right. Now I want to mention that Microsoft Excel is a spreadsheet program that allows you to store, organize, and analyze information. So it can be used for some fairly intricate calculations and can be a great way to process complicated data. It can also have more practical applications, and we'll talk about those in the next class. I just don't want you to be intimidated and think that you can't use this for practical things. My main experience with using Excel is actually keeping track of church history, and in that, the documents that I used primarily had names and dates, so it can be used for lists and budgeting and exercise program, keeping track of how many hours you log exercising, or dieting logs, or even just making up simple sales sheets if you have a home business. It could be very helpful for that. So I just want you to know that while the program itself really can be used for very complicated things, it's also user-friendly. I don't want you to take a look at it and kind of gulp. The other thing I want to mention is if you look at the screen, you can see how similar it is to Microsoft Word. Actually, all of their Office programs, their Publisher, PowerPoint, Word and Excel have similar interfaces. So it will feel familiar to you. You will see new things, of course, because it's a different program, but the basics are here. For instance, the ribbon is here with these tabs. All of the menus that you find using the tabs, they're all very familiar looking. New content, of course. Each tab, as you can see, has menus that you can then click on the little arrow in the corner and open up a drop-down menu that will allow you to really customize your page. Here you can see that you can switch from portrait to landscape, very much like you can in Word. You can set the margins, you can put in a header or a footer, and you can also detail it to the degree that you want to. All right, now up in the right-hand corner, you're going to see that there's a little box with an arrow. If you click on that, it opens up your options regarding the ribbon and the tabs. So if you want to hide the ribbon, and just get a really clean looking page, you can go ahead and do that. I think that I would probably find this difficult because I'm not that familiar with the program. So I wouldn't necessarily know the keyboard commands for things. You can also just leave it at show tabs, and this is kind of nice because you have that freedom of a clean workspace, but you still have the option to click on the tabs so that the menus open in case you need them. For today's class, we're just going to have it with the full tabs and commands available. Over in the left-hand side of the screen, you can see this little down arrow, and this is your customized quick access toolbar. In this, you might want to select things that you use all the time so that you can go to them quickly. And in this case, I am actually going to click on New because there will be times when I just want a fresh document as I'm talking to you, and I can get that quickly by just going here and clicking. All right, so like I said before, some of these groups in your menus have little arrows. You may be familiar with this from Microsoft Word, but it's worthwhile to take a look at so that you can really customize your worksheet, which is what this is called. I may call it a workbook page, but it's technically called a worksheet. Here you have some other drop-down menus and other options, and we'll go over some of those. Up here in your tab area, you'll see a box that says tell me what you want to do, and this little light bulb. If you click in there and let's say you want to look at font sizes, you type that in and it brings up all of the various fonts that are available to you, and you should be able to select one and then just go ahead and change the size. The sizes are over here, but you'll find it right there as well. So if we want to make it bigger, you can make it even larger than that. I think it goes all the way up to 72. If we used that, and we can go ahead and do that, do you see how the box expanded to fit the letters? So that's kind of a handy tool. You don't have to do too much formatting of the cells. These little squares are called cells. Okay, so let's go back and just leave it at, I think, Times New Roman all the way down here. We'll just leave it at that. That's sort of your general font. Okay, and I'm just going to check my notes to make sure that I've gone over all of those things. Oh, right, down in the bottom right hand of the screen, you will see these little boxes, and these are so that you can change what you see on the screen. You have normal, which is this general worksheet. Then you have layout, which gives you page layout. It gives you a side to side if you had 2 pages, and then you have page break, and that's a pretty interesting thing. I have not yet used that, but again, as I had recommended, you might want to go ahead and practice. And then down next to it, you'll see a slide bar, which is your zoom. You can zoom in to, if you're having trouble seeing some equations, you can go all the way up to, I believe it's 400, but that gives you a good idea of what can be done. Well, let's see if I can get that to 100. I did, oops, there we go. Now we're back to 100%. Sorry about the fiddling about. And then I want to remind you over here under the File tab, it takes you to our Backstage view. I did access this a little while ago when I wanted to bring up a new sheet. But in here you can go ahead and print, you can save, you can export, you can share. There are a number of things that you can do. You can click on the options and that will come up with other tools. All right. Whenever you work with Excel, you'll enter information into the cells. The cells are the basic building blocks of your worksheet, and each cell is defined by the column and the row in which it's housed. So this one that's highlighted, do you see the line, the border that kind of forms around it when you click on it? This one, the address for it is A1, and you can see that right here in the name box. I think, do you see that? I just highlighted it. That's called its name box, and if I move here, it will change to B1. So for each column, those are designated by letters, and each row is designated by a number. But let's see, so if you want P1, you can either click on it or you can go over here and type it in. Let's choose a different one so you can see it move, and it goes automatically to J1 because I typed in J1. All right, you can also select a group of cells, and you do this, you can either click on this little corner, see the little square in the box on the corner, you can click on it and drag it and it will give you a group. You can even open that up to the next, or you can go ahead and put in the name box. You can say A1 and semicolon, let's do G1, and hit enter, and it will highlight that whole group. You can do the same thing with columns by doing A1 and semicolon and A6 and hit enter, and it will highlight the whole column that you selected. Okay. To input or edit content, you'll need to select the cell that contains the content. You can select a cell by clicking on it, and that border will come up. The cell will remain selected until you move to another cell. So I'm just going to fill in a number, 350, and hit enter, and I go back to it, and it will stay there until I move to another cell. You can move around your screen either by clicking in various cells, by putting in the name box the address of the cell, or you can use your arrow keys. So your right arrow key, which I'm using right now, will move you right along, and your down arrow key will move you down, up, and left. And that's kind of a handy tool to use. I typically use my mouse, but I think that those arrow keys are helpful. Okay. Excuse me while I refer to the notes. I just want to make sure that I have everything. You can also use the arrow keys, as I said, to create a cell range without typing the address in the name box. Click and drag, which I showed you before. Now I'm going to this will, if I click and drag with the numbers in there, it will automatically fill in every one of those cells with the same number. And even if I stretch it out like that, it will automatically fill those in. So if you don't want that, actually you can go ahead and click and drag. Sorry. And then I'm just going to go ahead and use my delete key to get rid of the information in there. But you can also go up to delete and a window will drop down. Do you see here where it says delete cell? You can go ahead and just delete that cell, or you can clear it. When you delete it, it will move things up and down. So it will change. If you have information in each of these rows and columns and you delete a cell, it will ask you, let me show you, it will ask you if you want to shift left, up, or clear the entire row. And what will happen is then your information will move. So you have to be careful of that. You're better off when you want to delete just a cell to come over to clear, and you can either do clear all or clear contents. I'm going to do clear contents because that will only clear the contents of that selected cell. It's a little bit safer of an option. Although there are times where you will want to delete information. Let's see, Andrew Drucker stood, oops, on the sidewalk. Okay, so I'm going to click on that and then fill all of those in. If I want to delete one of those rows, let me show you what happens. Let's say I want to delete the middle row. What will happen, and it might be difficult, maybe if I fill it, you'll see. This bottom line, or the row 3, the third row, this one, will shift up depending on what I do. So let me show you that. If I go to delete and I say delete sheet rows, it will get rid of that, and what was 3 will become 2. Did you see that? This can make a difference when you are working with information. I'm going to give you an example. When I was entering in church history information, I did make a mistake at one point and I had to recreate some documents. So here you go, it got rid of it again. Or, let me go up and undo. You can go over to clear, and then all you need to do is clear contents, and it leaves that row intact, and you can fill in with new information. It doesn't delete the whole row or those columns. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and delete these. From both. Now I don't know if I mentioned that by clicking on the row number, it highlights the entire row. The same thing happens when you click on the column. It highlights the entire column. So if you wanted to get rid of this column B, let's say it's filled in, we'll make it green, and you wanted to delete that, you come over to the delete and it will say delete sheet columns, and it will get rid of it. If you didn't want to do that, if you wanted to just delete the information, let's see, 320. And let's click on the whole column. You can come over here and it says, and go to clear contents, or you can clear all. And that got rid of the color as well. If I hadn't cleared all, if I had just cleared the contents, the color would have stayed. Okay, I hope that makes sense, and you're welcome again to ask me any questions. I'm just going to refer to my notes for a minute so that we can take a look at everything. Okay, I wanted to show you what happens. I know I showed you A1 through H1, let's say, or G1, and I also showed you A1 through A6. Let me show you how to put in an address for a larger space. So you put in A1 and we're going to go to, let's say, M10 and hit enter, and it will highlight that whole section. I don't know if you can hear my cat, but she has come in to say hello to everybody. So each cell can contain different types of content, including text, as I showed you, formulas, formatting attributes, and functions. Cells with text can contain letters, numbers, and dates. Let me show you an example of the dates. And you'll find this window right here, the number format, to be very helpful when you're doing dates, and I'll show you why. Let's say I put in January 5th. Hit enter. And I want to change that format. You come over to this custom number area and you can select short date and it will change it. Let's see if we open the window. Okay, and here it kind of spells it out for you, and you have a number of options in that drop down menu. So if I wanted to change it to that, I can go ahead and apply that. These are kind of quick tools. You can make it a long date, and then let's open that drop down window again. And you can see that there are a number of different options. For instance, we can change it to that, January of 2020. So you have a number of options with that, and we're just going to go ahead and clear that and clear formats. Okay, so I'm going to grab a new sheet and just do it from there. You can also put in background color like I showed you. Again, in this font section, you can use the drop down menu or the quick menu that shows right on this screen here. This is the drop down menu. So if you wanted, let's say you didn't like the color options that were available here. Let's cancel that and go over here. Let's say you wanted more colors. You can go into more colors here, or you can do it through the drop down menu. You can even customize it. And in that, like, let's say I would like that color. That didn't work. So let's pick this color. And here in this part, it shows you the color you just selected and the current color, which is white. If you customize it, you can darken that color. See how it's darkening? And you can put in the amount of red, green, or blue that you want in order to create the color that you really want it to be. I'm going to pick light blue and just say okay. And now you can see that that box or that cell has been filled with that light blue color. If you wanted to type in some information, I'll just write data. You can change the color of the font, the word. You can also customize that in the same way that you did the colors for the fill. If you want to change what is written in there, but you don't want to get rid of the formatting, you can just come up to this bar here and highlight it, and you can go ahead and change the text font. Let's see, we'll just pick that one and maybe make it a little bit bigger. Now you see that it doesn't quite fit. If you want to open up this row, you can select the row, or you could just select the cell. So let's try that. So we want to make that cell bigger. We'll give the font a larger size. So it looks like it's going to adjust, auto adjust, which is helpful. And it changes your row size. So let's get rid of that. And cells that contain formulas and functions calculate cell values. So I want to give you an example of that. I'm just going to clear all. so that I can give you an example. So let's enter some numbers into our rows, into our cells. 780. And then in C, I'm going to put in my calculation here. I'm going to go over a few more of the what you enter in order to do the calculations, but I'm going to start with sum. You always have to put it in equals at the beginning, so it's like you're writing your mathematical equation a little bit backwards. But you enter equal, and then, you type in sum, because we're going to do addition, and you need an open parenthesis, and then you need to put in the address of the cells, so A1, and then semicolon, and B1, and then close parenthesis, and then hit enter, and it will go ahead and add the two of those together. If I want to calculate all of those cells, we do the same thing. We enter equal, and then sum, all caps, open parenthesis, A1, semicolon, C1, close parenthesis, and go ahead and enter, and it will add the three of them together, and so on and so forth. That's a very helpful tool, and we'll go into that a little bit more. It calculates the value of the cell range as well, because here it's 3 cells instead of just the 2. And we can even keep going and do 553 in this cell, and then 2,000. Oh, 20,000. All right, and in this cell, we'll calculate the sum equals sum, open parenthesis, A1, semicolon, and that's G1. It would be F1. And then hit enter. And it gives you 20,600 or 26,273. All right, so that's an example of calculating sums. To insert content, all you need to do is click on a cell and then type something into the selected cell. So, tuna, oops, and hit enter, and there you have it. If you want to, let's say you want to do a calendar, let me just clear these. All right, so if you wanted to do a calendar, let's say, and based on the days of the week, you can put Monday in that top A1 cell, and then click on that little square and draw it down, and that's going to give you 2 weeks, and it automatically fills. If you were to spread it to the right, it would automatically fill those as well. Let's undo that and just clear all. Clear. Sorry about that. I'm not sure why it's not doing it. Let's go ahead and it will erase it as well. See if you can see what I'm talking about. There we go. Now, I pretty much just showed you how to create a range without, doing the whole thing. It's very handy, actually. Clear contents, delete. You can also delete individual cells by just hitting the delete key. I mentioned that earlier. Understanding cells continued with how you can copy and paste. And so I'm going to put some information. I'll just write data in there. And let's say I want to copy that and paste it way over here. So you go ahead up to the menu under the Home tab where it says Copy, and you click on the cell where you want to paste it. You can either right-click it and choose Paste, or you can use the clipboard right here where it says paste, and it will do the same thing. You can also do Control V, which is paste. And here, if you wanted to copy, you can use Control C and copy it to another spot, and then hit enter. Once you hit enter, it removes that little border. Did you see the border that's kind of a dotted line that circles around the cell? That will go away once you have pasted it and then hit enter. So we now have data all over. All right, let me just refer to the notes for a second and make sure that I've given you all of that information. Cutting functions pretty much in the same way as copy and paste. The nice thing about cutting, though, is let's say you have filled a whole document full of information, but there was a section that you needed to move. You can go ahead and cut that and move it to a new section and paste it in, and that automatically deletes it from where it was. So let me give you an example. I'm going to click on that and do cut, and then I'm going to put it over here and paste it in. I'm going to right click and paste it, and do you see how it removed the information from A1 and put it into G16? Let me do that again. I'm going to select cut for C2, and I'm going to move it to A1 and paste it, and it will remove it from C2. So it copies it to a new spot, but it removes the information. Copy and paste does not remove it. So you have it in both places still. All right, if you have any questions about that, you're welcome to just give me a holler. Okay, to see additional paste options, let me ask that to copy. You can go over here to the paste drop-down menu. You can even click on paste special and you have even further possibilities. But I tend to use the top ones. They're very helpful. Let's see. I'll select just the plain clipboard and then hit enter. And there you have it. You can access many of the commands just by right-clicking. I think I showed you that, but I'm just going to mention it again. So here on this cell, I'm going to right-click, and it gives you all of those options: the cut, copy, paste. You can insert things, delete things, clear contents. So if I go ahead and clear contents there, let's see. You can create a hyperlink. There are many things that you can do by right-clicking on the individual cells. Okay, to drag and drop cells, so I'm going to highlight this cell and I'm going to move it to M5. Whoops, sorry about that. You need to hover over the edge of the cell until it makes that double arrow cross, and then you just, what did I say, M5? Is it M5? And there you have it at M5. You can direct it anywhere that you want as long as you've highlighted that part. Okay, so it's not this little square thing that will add data or select an entire area. It's dragging and dropping. So I can even drag this whole piece and move it up here. All right. That's kind of a handy feature. And then the thing that I was talking about with this little square, it's called the fill handle, and it's pretty handy. It's a little fiddly, but you can go ahead and also open this menu and find other ways that you can format. If you want to increase the size of your columns, so the lettered parts of the columns, you just go to the line between the two letters and you'll end up with a double-sided arrow. You can just drag that until you make the column the size that you want. You can also select the entire document and change the column sizes for the whole document. See how it changed it? You can do the same with your rows, and it increases the size of those cells. I'm just going to undo, get rid of that. All right, next I want to talk about a little bit more. I talked about the dates and about calculating sums. I want to go over some other calculations with you so that you know how to create some formulas. But first, okay, I want to also let you know that if you ever enter a number that's too large for your column, or you see a bunch of hashtags, it just means that the column's too small for that information, and all you need to do is expand your column and make it larger. It's very simple. Sometimes the autofit feature, which we looked at before when we changed the font size on our letters for data, it opened up that row so that it could fit that font size. That's the autofit feature. So to modify row height, you use the same principles that I showed you for columns and for rows. And then to insert new rows, I'm going to get a new sheet here. You want to select the row where you would like the information inserted. So I am going to go ahead and fill this with kind of an orange color, and I'm going to fill this row with kind of, let's do red. Maybe blue is nicer looking. So I'm going to click on row 4, and I'm going to insert a row. And you see how you can either insert a cell, and that's what would happen with the cells, or you can undo that and insert a sheet row. And now we have 2 blue rows. If I wanted to do a brown row or an orangey row, I would insert it there. See what I'm doing? Let's try something else to make that more noticeable. And really what it does is it shifts the rows so that an entire row drops down or goes away. Let's fill this one, and I'm going to click here, and let's just see what happens if we insert a row there. It was really subtle, so let's do it right here. And it drops it down. Did you see that? Let's do that again. So I clicked on row 1, and I want to insert a row before it. So insert sheet rows. And I can do the same thing for insert column. And that was a little more subtle. I'm not sure if you saw it shift. So let's try it again. I will give that column some color instead of the row. Let's get rid of that color for the row, no fill, and select the column and fill that with color. We'll do green this time. And again, go to Insert and Sheet Columns, and it will insert a row before that. So what was column A is now column B. You have to be careful of that because sometimes you mess up your data, but it is a handy tool to have. And that's it. To delete rows or columns, you do the same thing. So let's color this row. And I want to delete that column. I come over here. It will remove. Here, let me insert a column first. And then I will go ahead and highlight that one. And now I'm going to delete a column. And it gets rid of that. And I don't know if you saw, but it moved and shifted. What was C is now B. So perhaps I can do this. I can color that, and then I'm going to get rid of column B so that you can really see it, and it shifted the green column over. Okay. You can do the same thing with using copy and paste with your columns. So if I want to copy it, copy, and I'm going to move over to H and I'm going to paste it, I create a new column that looks identical to column B. And then if I hit enter, it will take the lines away from column B. Now let's do paste. Okay, so, or I'm sorry, cut and paste. And it removes column B, and it's now over in column J. So all of your data from column B, or all of your information, would now be over in column J. And it works exactly the same way with the rows. All right. So now let's look at some other calculations, some other formulas. They're pretty, I'm just going to give you the basic ones because you can get very fancy and I'm not sure how far you want to go. But if you're going to use Excel to calculate numerical information, you'll be using formulas. Just like a calculator, Excel can add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Excel uses standard mathematical operators for formulas: a plus sign for addition, a minus sign for subtraction, an asterisk for multiplication, a forward slash for division. So let me type those in here if I can. I'm not sure I can. Yeah, sure. Okay. So we have an asterisk. I'm sorry. Let's do the plus sign first. Enter. Minus sign. Enter. Asterisk. Enter. Slash is for division. Enter. And then for exponents, which I'm not sure you'll use, but you might, you use the up caret, which is right above the 6. And there's that. So all formulas must begin with an equal sign. And you enter your formulas up here. So equal sign. For example, if you wanted to do a basic calculation of, I'm going to delete those, clear all. Sorry. I should just go ahead and delete them one by one, and then I won't worry about it. So if I want to calculate a simple mathematical equation, and I do equal 2 plus 2 and hit enter, it will give me my answer of 4. Those are pretty straightforward. Let's do another one using the A1 cell, and we'll do equal 5 asterisk, which is multiplication, and hit enter. Oh, I missed my equal, so let's use the arrow key and put in the equal. There we go. And hit enter, and it multiplies the two together. If you wanted to divide, you can use this slash, and let's do 25. Sorry, you have to do the equal sign, and 25 divided by 5. So it looks like a fraction almost, and you will get the correct answer, which is lovely. And let's try, well, I guess, you understand the principles. You always need that and equal sign. Most of the time you can use the cell addresses to calculate or create your formulas. This is known as making a cell reference. So using cell references means you can change the value of the referenced cells. So 320 and 220. If I were to do an equal A1 plus A2, hit enter. So there's our total, 540. If I changed this value to 100 and hit enter, it will change the value of that formula. So it's a nice way of automatically calculating your formulas or your equations. So let's give it a try. I'm going to type a different number, some different numbers in here, and see if we can't do some different things. Okay, so we're going to change the formula here and make that, I'm going to just delete that. We'll go up here and we'll put in 3,000, and then in B2 we're going to put in 250, and then in B3 we're going to put in 4,500, and go over here and then type in, I'm going to do multiplication, so A1 times B1. So it's highlighting the two columns or the two cells that are going to have, that the calculation is going to work with. And there you get 750,000. If you wanted to add, or let's divide, see if that works. D1 minus C1. It will highlight the two, and let's hit enter. And there it subtracted the 4,500 from the 750,000, and you get 745,500 for your answer. So play around with it. It can be a lot of fun. You can do different things. Like I said, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, those are pretty straightforward. All right, so I'm going to just get a blank document for us, and then I'm going to show you that you can quickly organize a worksheet by sorting your data alphabetically, numerically, and many other ways. And the way you do that is you use this sort filter drop down menu. I do need to enter some information, so I'm just going to do Sarah, Joyce, Tina, Meg, and Lois. Now, if I want to sort and filter those, I can highlight this column and come over to sort filter, and if I would like to have that in alphabetical order, I just sort by A to Z, and it will automatically change it into alphabetical order. I can also reverse it and have Z to A, and I can custom sort it depending on what your needs are. Okay, and you can, I think that's about it. I think that's about what we're going to go over today. I hope that you feel like you learned quite a bit, and that if you are comfortable enough with this to play around with it. There is so much information here, and I can't possibly cover it all in just 2 classes, so feel free to play around with it. Come in, call us at the library and make an appointment so that you can come in and use the program, or as I said, you can try the web-based program. Play around with it, get familiar with it, come back on the 21st, and I'll show you some practical applications. Some of those templates that we saw at the beginning, let's go ahead and look at those again. So here is a personal budget. We'll go over some more of those kinds of things, but there you go, some different options that you can use to create your own personal monthly budget. I hope you enjoyed this program. I hope that you are comfortable to email me, call me, whatever you like with your questions, and I will see you again on the 21st. Thanks for coming, and have a great day.